Hey everyone, Dave here. So I want to talk about ICOs before we get to build one here. So if you've never worked with an ICO or initial coin offering, what they are is an exchange. So we've built a NEP5 token. Now we want to sell this to people. So what they're going to do is they're going to send us NEO or gas or both, and we're going to, in exchange, give them our token or our coin. So this is the initial time we're offering the coin. So the way this works is we're going to take our NEP5 token and we're going to add some code to it that's going to allow it to accept NEO or gas and give the person who contributed funds our token in return here. And that's a typical way it's done. I was a little bit surprised to kind of learn that's the way it was done. I assumed there'd be a contract that would take the token or take the funds, and then eventually we would build a token and release it to them with all the logic and things like that in that. But that's not really the way that it seems to work for most people, is we build a basic NEP5 token, we do an ICO with that, we gather the funds, and if we were going to, we may replace that token. So we may create a more advanced token with all sorts of complicated logic inside of it and rules and things like that. And then we'll swap out the one that we sold for the production ready one at some point through a token swap event. And that's something that I won't cover here. But when you're designing an ICO, the sky is the limit on how you can do things. Everyone has their own way of doing it. I've seen it done in so many different ways. There's so many things to consider. Right? So the first thing is, I would say the number of rounds. So a ICO may have multiple rounds, and usually they do. So they may have typically like a private pre-sale, and that's going to be for, people that are known to the organization or maybe investor groups, and it's going to be sold at a discount. And then we may move on to a public sale where we're going to go out to our public and sell it to them at a higher rate. And we may have a special round for people that follow us on Telegram or, and then another round at the end to sell off the remaining tokens. So we got to consider how to design the number of rounds and then how we want those to start and stop. So the starting of a round and the stopping of a round can be set as block numbers, or they can be set as dates, but I'd recommend block numbers, and most people do, because a date and time may land right in the middle of a block. And now NEO is really fast for generating blocks, but let's say there's something weird that happens and it takes 10 minutes to generate a block, and that time lands right in the middle of that block. The people that were before it are getting in, and the people in the next block are not getting in, based on that block time. So people may get a little upset that they feel that they contributed at the right time but didn't get in, whereas if it's block number, it removes some of that. You can also have a ceiling on there. So let's say in our round, we're selling 1 million tokens. If we sell 1 million tokens in the first, before the end time, then that sale is over. The other consideration would be, let's say we do have a round and we're selling 1 million tokens and we sell 500,000. What do we do with the remaining 500,000? We could carry that over to the next round. We could say, well, to the people who bought in this round, we're going to give you double what you thought you paid for. So it still gets distributed out to them, which is a little bit harder to do. Or we could burn them. We could destroy those tokens so there's less in existence and less in circulation. Or we could put them and hold them for, our community initiatives later, or to pay our employees or something like that at the end. So again, that's going to be more of a business decision of what you want to do, right? Then you got to decide too what the exchange rate is going to be. So if someone sends us 1 NEO, how many of our tokens are we going to give them? Is it a 1-to-1? Is it, 1 NEO equals 1,000 of our token? Got to figure that out, and how that exchange rate changes between rounds, and how do we instruct the smart contract to change it? What asset are we going to take? Are we going to accept NEO or gas or both? Now, we also have to think about some legal requirements. For instance, a lot of countries are going to want you to do KYC requirements, know your customer requirements, and where you gather the information about them. You gather their identifying information. So you got to submit your passport or some other identifying documents here, and then we will whitelist you so that you can contribute. And we can do that whitelisting right in the contract, which we'll probably demonstrate here. The other thing to consider too is, when are these tokens going to be delivered? Is it the second that I send in the NEO or gas that I get the tokens back? If I get them back right away, I could turn around and try and sell them to someone else. And maybe we don't want that. So that could be, we could somehow lock down the transfer method so that you can't send it till the sales are over. Or we could airdrop them after. So we could gather everyone's NEO and gas, and then once the sale round is over, we could run a script that would airdrop all those funds back out to them, right? That's a little more complicated. Again, that's something we won't get into, but that is a delivery option there. I think those are probably my big considerations off the top of my head. The code's going to get a little bit more complex than we've been dealing with here, but we'll walk you through it. So I don't know how many parts this series is going to be, but we'll try and cover everything we can. So I look forward to writing some code with you.